cowbells ringing. Apparently there's cowbells somewhere out here, Liticor. We're diving into game number 5. Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the 5th game in the series between Hut and Vortix. This is the first series of this evening, your August monthly grand finals. It is a best of 7, and we enter into this 5th game with an Abbasid Dynasty versus Delhi matchup, spawning in on the south side of the map. Hailing from Australia, the sensation, it's Hut.
And on the northern side, in command of the Delhi Sultanate, the Spanish wonder, it is going to be Vortix in the color blue.
I thought we agreed on the Spanish omelet.
I think Spanish wonder sounds better, I gotta say.
Yeah, I think you might be right. Well, let's look to see how this one plays out. Hut going to be opening up double scout. Vortix going to be doing the same thing. What do you expect to see today? How many town centers are coming out of Hut?
I feel like for Hut, 2 is mandatory, 3 is ballsy, but it could pay off. It really depends on how much he can contain Vortix's expansion. Now, looking at the map, the sacred sites are shaped in an interesting fashion, and it could be a possibility for Vortix to wall off like 2 of those, because the choke points are aligned such that he could easily get these walled. So if you're Hut, I would be hesitant to consider 3 TCs, because you see, as Vodka is showing us, it would be rather easy for Vortix to punish that greed by just going for some walls in these choke points and easily securing 2-3 sacred sites.
Yeah, I think that could definitely be the play. Another big factor, I think, in here is going to be that when Hut looks to try and expand, I would love to see an aggressive town center. We've seen players look to do this before. Now, Hut probably not the biggest balls on a guy to do it. 3DB, the kind of guy to do that, but we have seen Abbasid players do this, where they use the town center as a pseudo keep and try and take control of sacred sites just by using the TC. So I'm hoping that we see it. I don't reckon we will, but I'm hoping that we do.
It's a possibility, but usually you want to do that when you have some food nearby, because ultimately you have to expend towards food with the Abbasids. And if you take a look at the sacred sites, the only realistic place for that would be the northern sacred site, or well, actually it's probably the westernmost. But that is way too far away for him. He doesn't want to walk all the way out there. So if he wants to use the TC as a pseudo keep, he essentially has to forfeit a lot of food. Maybe this one in the middle could be a candidate, actually, now that I see the berries nearby.
Yeah, I think just above the relic has got a pretty decent spot there for him. So we'll watch to see how he plays it. Hut always the kind of guy who's looking for something cheeky. 4 villagers on gold. It's going to be pretty standard opening for him. Just the classic, I suspect, wheelbarrow into fresh foodstuffs into that second TC. And Vortix, I mean, would your suspicion be that he's going to be opening a stable here?
I would think so, yes, although it's not guaranteed. The safe play in many ways is going to be a stable, and that's something that's going to allow you to have some level of map control. But against Abbasids, you don't really want to do that much because the Abbasids are likely opening spears. It's a balancing act, right? It probably depends on your scouting, because it's very possible that the Abbasids will open horsemen themselves, and in that case you want your own horsemen to match the mobility. So it's going to come down to what he sees from Hut, and consequently, for Hut, his first production building could come down to what he sees from Vortix. So the 2 players might just be waiting on each other to see what the other opens with, and then respond to that in kind.
Yeah, I think that's definitely going to be the case. But we do start to see stone being taken already from Hut. So he's looking to I guess, lead the game here. I'm curious to see whether Vortix is going to respond with his own second TC. We did actually see this in a matchup, 3DB versus Marine Lord, where Marine Lord went for 3 TCs and B went for a second TC as the Delhi. So perhaps that's a direction that he looks to go into as well.
It's a possibility because this map is relatively well defendable, and given the fact that he's not even being scouted right now by his opponent Hut, he could possibly even conceal it for the time being. Would be a risky play in a way, but it's also a risk that could easily pay off, so could easily imagine that being a thing.
Yeah, I think it's quite a safe move, honestly, to go the second TC. It depends on the timing of the attack, but we'll watch to see how Vortix plays it. And now that age up has come through, the economic wing, no surprise there. By the same token, we see the Dome of the Faith coming down for Vortix, and a lot of villagers on stone here for Hut at the moment. Still working towards that second town center. The fresh foodstuffs on the way through. Scouts being chased around. Nothing too crazy just yet, Liticor.
Indeed, it's a bit of a Pokemon probing at the beginning, making sure that you're scouting your opponent's base. You see Hut detached one of his own to see what his opponent is up to, and you see not a single production building just yet from either side, because essentially both of the players are waiting for the other to blink first, And especially the Abbasid player, he's more than happy doing so, because while no one is pushing army, he's just going to capitalize on the better eco.
Yeah, well, it looks like a blacksmith opening here with a stable, so pretty standard stuff. No sign of a second town center just yet. But speaking of second town center, Hut moving down towards this hunt on the south side, so not going to be using that that pseudo keep in the center, just going to be keeping things nice and safe. But look at the scouts moving out. He knows exactly what he's doing over here, being so damn cheeky. Looking to try and deny the placement of the TC. We'll be able to get it off as well. Second TC does get dropped down. Villagers moving out across here as well. And you can see him looking to snipe out those deer before they can get pushed away by the scout. Scout going to be successful and just being very, very cheeky. But yeah, very nice cleanup there from Hut.
Yeah, very, very nice indeed. Now, many of you back at home might be wondering, why is this guy going for the TC on the deer when, holy potatoes, he's Abbasids, he should be going the berries? It's plain and simple. Because the berries, in order to maximize the efficiency from those, to get the extra food on them, you would need to build a mill right next to them anyways. So even if you build a TC, you still have to build a mill. If you go on the hunt, you will place your hunt or place your TC on the hunt, and you will just build your standard mill next to the berries. So it maximizes efficiency, and that's part of the reasons why you see Abbasid players going out for the hunt more and more with their second TCs instead of berries.
Yeah, well, it looks like the first of the horsemen is moving across the map now. Running into a couple of wolves. Not going to really matter. He's more than capable of outrunning it. Scout looking for villagers. The question is, where does he go and how does Hut play it? Because at the moment, he's on 2 TCs. He knows he's going to be going up against Vortix, who'll be looking to try and take sacred sites. He's going to need something to challenge them. So we would suspect he's going to look to play a heavier feudal, potentially into, horsemen and spearmen as an option.
That's a possibility. Camel archers can also be mixed in here, and that's probably the direction that he's heading towards. And as you said, he's gonna have to do something to contest those sacred sites, but that's something that Abbasids are pretty good at, because they have one of the fastest escalations from a very eco-focused approach to a very army-focused approach. They're just saving so much food on the villagers that they're making that they can easily turn it into very food-heavy units like the horsemen, the camel archers, or even spearmen.
Yeah, we see the upgrades now coming through for Vortix. Sanctity going to be on the way through very shortly. I suspect if we take a look over at the mosque, I think probably in less than 30 seconds it should be coming through. And the question is how many sacred sites he looks to go for. Yeah, 16 seconds to go now on Sanctity. So the scholars are moving out in all directions. We can see 1, 2, 3. So he's going for the classic one scholar everywhere. You get a scholar, you get a scholar, everybody gets a scholar. But obviously the consequence of doing this is that you may lose one.
Exactly, but obviously, even if you cap the sacred site and then lose the scholar afterwards, it's already worth it. So it's a high risk, high reward type of an approach from him. Obviously, he's gonna have to wall in at least 1 or 2 of these, otherwise they will just get decapped. And you see he started thinking about that already. And it looks like Hut is going to move in to try and contest the right-hand side one, because the left-hand side has a boar on it. Oh, actually, the aggro was rather fast.
Yeah, it was pretty close, wasn't it? But now the Spearman moving across the map. Spearman together with the Scholar. Scholar should be able to heal the Spearman, but the Scholar won't be able to heal himself. So he does get chased away by the Spears for now, but more and more Horsemen coming in. Those Spears need to get close to that Scholar. Otherwise, there could be problems. And there's action all over this map right now.
Yeah, a lot of action going on indeed, trying to snipe the first Scholar out here. Spearmen are helping out. Well, you see Scholar is slowly going down, and that is good value for Hut here. He's willing to trade a Horseman for a Scholar out there and deny the Sacred Site for a time being.
He gets so many Horsemen. Beautiful little position there, but now the Scout going to get taken out. Good night,
Ouch.
sweet Prince. And that boar going to be lured away to a greater tomorrow.
Not looking that great right now for Hut. He picked off 1 Scholar on the right side. He might even pick up 1 on the left side. But the concern for him is that his villagers were idle at the meantime. Because behind this, Vortix did send in a couple of horsemen to his base, so a lot of idle time on the side of Hut. And in the end, Vortix is going to be able to secure most of those sacred sites.
Yeah, the central one's taken. The south one going to be taken up. I say south, it's probably better described as eastern. But now Hut looking to really bring that economy online. He's got 37 villages compared to the 32 of Vortix. But the military is where it's at. And we do see him moving into spears. As I suspected, it's going to be horse spear with a camel archer in tow as well. Why not? Look at that. Triple composition coming out early. And he is destined for that central sacred site.
Yeah, exactly. It's going to be a good starting point for this push. Because not only is he decapping the sacred site, he could launch an assault into the opponent's base. And that's something that Vortix has to respect. he's basically forcing Vortix to focus all his attention here, because if he doesn't do so, he could leave his eco exposed.
A little bit of a cleanup in the middle. Hut outnumbering his enemy, decapping the central sacred site as well. We hear attacks back on the base of Hut. He's up by 6 villagers at the moment, and that's going to continue to increase as the game goes on. That second town center really paying dividends, but hold on a minute. We got a little bit of a raid attempt coming through. I don't know if any villagers went down. It looks like he still managed to stay alive with as many villagers as he's got, but that wall hasn't gone up on that eastern sacred site yet, Lidicor.
Yeah, exactly. Vortix is just too distracted right now. He's trying to take good engagements in the middle, also raiding his opponent's base. That spearman should be enough to push away those 2 horsemen with the support of the 1 horseman from Vortix as well. So for the time being, he's going to be able to keep control over that sacred site. Now, this could be a little too much. Spearman rushing for the walls, but this is going to be a little too late. I mean, you could just burn your way through those walls in a matter of seconds.
Yeah, but it will buy him a little bit of time to delay that site, and you'd expect that units would be on the way. You can see he's got 14 spears out at the moment, Vortix does. So as long as they're marching down in this direction, he should be A-okay. But he doesn't seem like he's interested at all. He just chills out for the moment. He's managed to secure up that central site once again. But the south one, or the east one, still just keeps on ticking.
Yeah, exactly. In fact, he's going to lose this eastern one in all certainty. The concern for Vortix is that he's floating a lot of gold. He's making the cardinal sin of not having a market when you're using sacred sites. And you have a ton of gold, congratulations, but you can't really spend it on anything. In fact, quite literally anything here with the deli. Well, except for scholars, but that's basically it.
Well, the numbers are starting to look good for him. He's sitting at 34 military population compared to the 28 of Hut. Hut obviously has the horsemen as well as the camels, which are notoriously expensive. He's taken the south, or neutralized the eastern sacred site, but the western sacred site going to be captured here as well. A little bit of a raiding party on the east side of the base for Vortix. He's got to be careful here not to lose a villager or 2 that are out on the outside. Not sure what these guys are doing out here. You guys got to find yourself greener pastures or safer forests, because things are not looking pretty for you right now.
Indeed, not a lot of villagers dying, though I think the first one is just now going down. A couple of casualties on the side of Vortix, but given the size of this raid, it's actually stellar that he only lost 1 or 2 villagers at best.
Yeah, it's impressive that he managed to keep...
this one is better. That's a lot better.
Yeah, and it doesn't look like we've got a reaction coming through. There it is now, the reaction. Do we have textiles on these villagers? Hopefully Vortix has remembered to get textiles. It can be something that people will often forget to do. But Hut looking to surround, and yes, he does have the textiles upgrade. It does come free for the deli.
And it looks like the forces of Vortix are pushing through the middle here. He's concentrating all his units at the same place, whereas for Hut, he split up his forces, and now 3 sacred sites about to be taken by Vortix. This is where the Delhi snowball starts to begin. And for Hut, he needs to take a decisive engagement over here, but he needs to wait for those forces to arrive, and in the meantime, he could have a lot of idle eco in his base. This is looking worse and worse for Hut at this pace.
Yeah, it definitely is. He's trying his best to delay this inevitable that is happening. We can see the military count really is making a big difference. Double the military, 54 versus 27, and all 3 sacred sites now taken for Vortix, which is typically where you do not want to be as an Abbasid player in this matchup. He's going to try his best to contest those villagers up towards the north. The villager difference is looking pretty healthy, though. 20 villager difference here. The main factor for Hut is just staying alive. If he's able to stay alive for the next 15 minutes, he should be okay, but it's a big window. It's a big window.
It's a big window. He might not need 15 minutes. Usually Abbasids start coming online at like 17, 18 minutes. What he needs is a decisive engagement. Wipe out the Abbasid, or the Delhi army rather, take the sacred sites after that, and then from that point on he could be playing from an advantageous position. What he desperately needs is 1 decisive engagement. The concern for him is that he's outnumbered almost 3-1 now when it comes to army numbers. So I'm not so sure if he can take that aforementioned decisive engagement.
Yeah, it definitely looks tough. And now the battering rams begin strolling and rolling their way towards the landmark of our Abbasid player. But they're going to get met with a stiff rebuttal. All of a sudden, the horsemen are going to be coming out and showing them a little bit of the pointy side of the stick. He forces them back to his town center, able to push this back, but the numbers looking very good for Vortix. How does Hut possibly defend this?
It's gonna be a tough one, because right now it's a full commitment from Vortix. He understands that his opponent doesn't have the forces to stop this with. Phalanx will help a tiny bit, maybe a good wraparound with the horseman could help as well, but the micro is geared here from Vortix, and it's just pure numbers game that Vortix is winning big time.
Yeah, there's not even any scholars out here from the Delhi player. He's just able to do this on military numbers alone. A huge crunch of units, and now those spears going to be able to come back around the outside of the town center and look to stop those horsemen from dealing with the battering rams. But the first ram did go down. Plenty of vills in the town center. Going to be able to pop out, and he's trying his best to fire this one down. Now, remember, the town center has been changed recently. It now is able to target these units underneath the TC, and it's going to be able to one-shot those ranged units. And we do see them slowly dwindle down, and now that battering ram going to be able to be taken out, left all alone. It slowly but steadily dies. It manages to stay alive for a little bit, but Hut does hold for a little bit longer. He maintains a villager difference of 22. All three sacred sites are still in control of Vortix, which is what you would expect, and surely we've got an age up coming through, but it doesn't look like Vortix has even saved enough money for it yet.
Yeah, Vortex seems to be very committed to this push, and as you said, now that you can retarget the town center to enemy units, it made it much easier for him to just wipe out half of the infantry that Vortex has had in there, and Vortex did dive under the town center, sustaining or actually suffering from massive casualties here, and he looks like he's fully committed to this feudal age push, but that's something that the Abbasids, they might be fine with, because as time goes on, those extra villagers really start coming online, so Hut lives to see another day, and he's gonna have a chance to equal things out here. Army numbers still 2-1 though in the favor of Vortix.
Yeah, still looking pretty good, but he does have the rams out now. He's up to 3 rams, even though one of them is a little bit wounded from the last battle. But things definitely looking better for Hut. I will note we're at the 16th minute and still have no wheelbarrow. So once that comes online, then Hut, his economy will be a little bit healthier, but he's going to look to try and hold on. Villagers jumping inside the outpost for now. A little bit of an engagement underneath these outposts as the horsemen come on in. They're trying to hold off against the enemy horsemen, but the spearmen look to get a pretty decent engagement here. The villagers going to be exposed as that outpost does indeed get taken out by the battering rams, doing a decent job, and Vortix looking like he might overwhelm this position. Things not looking good for Hut, and good game gets called. Vortix going to be taking the 5th game in this series.
What a game here for Vortex, securing the sacred sites, and off the back of that, just going full feudal. So many times you see the Delhi player just stretching out the game, going into Castle Age, playing a little slower. He understood that his opponent has the eco advantage. He needs to press on while he can. Diagnosed that Hut's army numbers aren't looking stellar, and from that point on, it was just a 1-1-1 unit composition. Spears, horsemen, and archers from him at the same time, whereas for Hut, he was struggling with numbers, and he wasn't able to hold off the Delhi swarm. Vortex takes over game number 3 here, and for the first time in this entire set, he now has the lead.
Well, we're up on match point, something that was inevitable in this series. Hut going to be down on 2 points. Vortix up on 3. We enter into game number 6 with Vortix as the favorite, the stiff favorite. He's got to just win 1 game compared to Hut, who's got to win another 2. So the question now becomes, what is the map going to be? Hut's got 2 maps available to him. And then what is the matchup going to be?